It is a tall wagon. It is not an SUV. It is not a Blazer. It so should have been called the Nomad. SS fits better with a Nomad than it ever did with the history of the Blazer. I think Chevy just missed the ball naming. I don't know why nobody spoke up and said, let's call this one a Nomad. Hey gearheads, and welcome to Garage Talk. I'm Corey, and this is a YouTube auto review that's about 4 years in the making, because I first saw what is now this 2025 Chevrolet Blazer EV SS 4 years ago at the LA Auto Show. Now, after all this time, I'm actually living with it. I've been living with this one for just over a week now. In those 4 years, you would expect Chevrolet to have perfected the formula of the Blazer EV. And in this video, I'm going to go through exactly what my thoughts on it are after all this time. Yes, gearheads, sadly, that is no joke. I have been waiting on this vehicle for 4 years, and huge thanks to Chevrolet for bringing it to me here in May of 2025. But I did first see this car, this spec, at the LA Auto Show back in 2021. Sure, it was red with a red and black interior, while this is the Barbie movie spec. Yes, this vehicle was also highlighted in the Barbie movie, which, when was that? 2 years ago? We have been waiting on the SS trim of the Blazer for quite some time, and now here in 2025, they're finally starting to show up. In fact, I did bring this one to my local Chevrolet dealership, and they were asking me some questions like, how'd you get the orange interior, which I'll show you later, or is this really an SS? I've never seen one before. Yes, it is. Like I said, have been living with this one for a full week, thanks to Chevrolet, thanks to them for bringing it to me. But let's start where we always do, under the hood. What we have here is a dual latch hood, so you just have to pull it twice and then you can just lift it up. Unfortunately, even though there is some spare space underneath here, there's no front trunk, no front storage, because what we do have is dual electric motor, all-wheel drive, and a massive, for this class, 102 kilowatt hour battery all the way underneath this one. The battery size on this is very similar to what we tested in the much more expensive Audi SQ6 not that long ago. But here we have electrical components, the electric motor up front. Chevrolet emphasized a shorter hood and kind of nixed the under hood storage space here. So no under hood storage, but with that bigger battery, with those dual motors, you get 615 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque, all of which is instantaneously available to you when you mash the accelerator, not the throttle. So this is a thrilling vehicle to ride in and to drive, but we'll get to that in just a moment. This being the SS, it is the top trim, and it gets some visual distinctions. The RS I previously tested here on the channel, and even the LT versions have a semi-faux grille in the middle. This one's just like all faux grille up front here. We get this blacked out panel that really emphasizes the contrast between the blue and the black, and really sets this one apart, but gives it a more aggressive front end. We get LED lights all the way up front, LED headlights, LED light bar, LED illuminated bow tie, there in the center. SS badging here that does remind me of my Camaro SS that I used to own. And then your parking sensors, everything up here. This one does have a little bit lower body kit on it for better aerodynamics. Again, being an EV, the whole underside is very smooth. So efficiency is the name of the game, not only for fuel efficiency in electrons, but being able to go quickly. Another thing I do want to call out is the airflow here. We do have some airflow directed around the front corner of the vehicle. Again, we are seeing this on a lot of GM, Chevrolet SUVs, and we'll talk about that here in a moment, just to better give airflow around the front. Speaking of airflow, we do have some cooling up here and cooling down here, because even though we don't have a fire-breathing V8 under this SS, we still do have components that need air to keep them cool, most notably the batteries and the AC. I really do enjoy the SS styling of the Blazer. It is my favorite trim of the Blazer for many different reasons, most notably the aggressive style, emphasis on sportiness. Again, SS does stand for super sport. But as we are pulled around here to this quarter shot, I do want to lament, as I do every time I speak about the Blazer, how misnamed this was. They call this an SUV, but it really is just a slightly taller wagon. And what nostalgic wagon name does Chevrolet have in their stable that they could have pulled from to put on this? Well, that is the Nomad. SS fits better with a Nomad than it ever did with the history of the Blazer. I think Chevy just missed the ball on the naming. I don't know why nobody spoke up and said, let's call this one a Nomad. Even more so than the gas-powered Blazer, which this shares no real parts with. This really is a tall wagon. It looks way more like a Nomad than any other vehicle in the lineup. As we pull in close though, the SS version does get these massive 22-inch wheels that are hiding those Brembo brakes with the SS badge back behind them. Very nice 6-spoke, 6-lug, because this is a heavy vehicle, but these are two 75/40 R22-inch Continental Premium Contact 6 Sport EV tires. We'll talk more about how these perform here in just a little bit, but wrapped around those very aggressively styled 6-spoke wheels. We even get the SS on the 1 spoke there by the brakes on the about 9 o'clock position there. Taking a further look as we pull out, again, just looking at it, it is a tall wagon. It is not an SUV. It is not a Blazer. It so should have been called the Nomad. And it just lends itself to being a Nomad. And we'll talk more about it as we pull around to the back. But I really do like the sporty styling. They really did have this trim, this model in mind when they designed this vehicle. It kind of has those Coke bottle hips back there over the rear wheels. It does kind of recall classic muscle cars. So they are giving it a lot of sporty intent in the design. And then you can see, because it is an EV, just how short that rear overhang is. We are really able to push those wheels out to the corners, really emphasize the interior space. Much like up front, we do get a body kit here on the SS. We even get these aerodynamic canards on the vehicle, so we get them in front of and behind the rear wheels. And that aggressive sporty styling does, again, transfer back here to the back. So with the sporty styling that we saw on the side, the sloping roofline, those very muscular hips and haunches, does translate to a very small back window here, and perhaps the smallest rear window wiper I think I've ever seen. But going back to one last lament about Nomad, even the taillights on this, we get fin-like taillights, very reminiscent of the Nomad. Like, come on, Chevy, you were almost there. The Nomad name fits this a whole lot better. Again, being the SS, we get this diffuser style rear bumper. Again, everything underneath the vehicle, because it's an EV, is relatively flat. So we get this aerodynamic but almost unnecessary, I guess, diffuser here back on the back. It really is more just for style than anything. Being the SS, we get the black bow tie, the black Blazer, black all-wheel drive badging. It's all really nice. We get the LED lighting back here as well. I had to turn it off to show you one last cool feature I like back here. It is a feature that we've seen on other manufacturers, but I think Chevy has perfected. It just works more consistently and better than other vehicles, and that is their keyless rear hatch open system. You don't have to dance or kick underneath the bumper. You just stand behind the vehicle with the key near the bumper, in your pocket, in your purse, and wherever. I just took it out to show you that I wasn't actually pushing buttons. It'll beep at you 3 times to let you know if you don't want it to open, to move. And then, yes, it opens up completely hands-free. I've used this quite readily since I've gotten this car. I did take it to Dallas to the airport, so I loaded my luggage up back here. It was very nice. Space back here is very much what you would expect for a vehicle in this class. You can expand it with the 60/40 folding seat backs, though there are no remote latches. So to fold these seats, you're gonna have to reach in from back here or go around to the side. You can see they do recline slightly for more comfort back there in the back. We do also have top tethers all the way across. We'll talk child seats in a different video. Underneath the floor here, we do have some additional storage. I really do like how deep this well is. It kind of reminds me of a C8 Corvette and where you store the top. It's just a tall vertical slot. You can see this case right here is the Chevrolet supplied power cord. Down here we have the Chevrolet supply power adapter that will allow you to charge to the NACS charging ports, aka the Tesla plug. We'll talk a little bit more about that before we climb inside. And then you can see we do have a little bit more storage underneath here. So decent storage for the class back here in the back. Again, a power operated hatch with the button right there. That will close it back down with a few more beeps, just letting you know maybe you should get out of the way. Before we climb inside, I do have to talk about charging on this one because this is one of the areas where I feel like Chevy just missed the mark. First and foremost, the charge door, they decided to make it a power charge door, and it is so unbelievably slow. I don't understand why it moves so slowly, but underneath there, we still have the old J1772/CCS charge port, but Chevrolet has committed to moving to the NACS port. In the interim, they do send you with an adapter so that you can plug and play and charge with Tesla charging stations or Electrify America or Iona. Whatever charging network fits your needs, you do have an option here. Unfortunately, the charging on this one, even though we're using the Ultium platform, is a little on the slow side. I will put all those charging specs on the screen just so you can see, but I was slightly disappointed in just how slow this thing charged, and also knowing just how big the battery is, 102 kilowatt hours. Very large battery, but then yes, very slow to close. Now, even if you did not get the Chevrolet adapter that allows you to charge on the NACS port, we do have our friends, our partners over at Lectron that did supply us with their Vortex adapter that allow us to charge any vehicle, whether it comes with an adapter or not, on the NACS charging network. So huge thanks to Lectron for that. You can check out the link down in the video description. Okay, weird charging aside, this does have some futuristic things that you will either love or hate. So I'm not gonna say I really lean either way on it. It is just different. Something you're gonna have to get used to, and that does in fact involve the key. It is your typical Chevrolet key. You can see we have lock, unlock, remote start, remote hatch release, and a panic button. You can deploy a physical key. All of that is unnecessary because you can just keep it in your pocket, in your purse, wherever you keep your key. You can walk up to any of the 4 doors and lock and unlock it using this button. It is not a passive entry system, so it doesn't unlock by grabbing the door handle. You have to actually push that button to lock or unlock it, and you can do it from all 4 doors, which is very nice. This being the SS, we get the up-level interior. We get light gray on dark gray with suede and orange accents. I absolutely love it. Orange is one of my favorite colors. Blue is one of my favorite colors. I think this one absolutely works. When I did see it in the Barbie movie, I was like, huh, that's very interesting. That's very bold. Congratulations, Chevy. So we take a look at the door. You can see we get a lot of different colors, textures, and materials. We get this kind of glossy look here. We get padded armrest up here. We get the padded armrest down here. We get the suede. We get some texture here, visual texture there. All of your controls here, but interestingly, only the driver's door is express up down. 2-person memory for the driver's seat, multi-way positional driver's seat with 2-way lumbar. And then yes, these seats, I love them. So we get suede headrests with SS embossed in it, orange Evotex accents here, some denim-like material right here, more suede right here, light gray, orange stitching, orange seat belts. It pops. It has so much character when you look inside, and I love character. So big win here. Though I will say these seat designs, having spent as much time in this one as I have, they're a little on the flat side. I would imagine the SS version to get some bigger bolsters, but we don't get that here. I just, again, it's a slight miss for something called Super Sport with over 600 horsepower. As we get in, this is where I talk about some of the weird features of this. Simply having the key on my person, sitting down and closing the door, started the vehicle up. So no need to push the engine start button over here on the screen. It just starts up. Another way you can start it up without closing the door is sit in here with the key on and put your foot on the brake. That too will turn it on. Very interesting, very futuristic. And then to turn it off, well, you just open the door and get out. You can override that with these quick access buttons right here, but let's see. Go ahead. Is it going to turn off? Now that I'm trying to show you on camera, no, I sat there too long, but you can turn it off that way with those shortcuts right there. You can override the automatic shut off that way, but when it does turn off, it shows you your battery and your range. So 98%, 300 miles. We do have 303 miles estimated at 100%, but we'll go ahead, turn this one back on with the push of a brake. I've confused it a little bit with my filming today, so I do apologize, but for our time with it, it has worked very well. You just get in, go, and then when you're done, you put it in park and you leave. Let's talk about screens in here because we have a lot. We'll start up here. We have a massive head-up display that gives you a lot of information, including your posted speed limit, your current speed, and if you're using Super Cruise or Super Cruise, as well as your directions, your turn-by-turn, if you're using the built-in navigation. Down here, we have your typical 11-inch screen that we see in practically every Chevrolet, from the Tahoe and Suburban down to the gas-powered Blazer. This UI, these two screens, really are being used in a lot of Chevy products. So if you've been in a new Tahoe, been in a new Suburban, been in a new Blazer, been in a lot of new Chevy vehicles, this 17.7-inch freeform display and 11-inch screen here are going to feel very familiar to you. But given that this is an EV, it is missing a few things. No Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto. That is a huge miss here in this vehicle. As someone who is very dependent on Apple CarPlay, I think it is just a big miss. We have not enjoyed our time trying to use the built-in apps. The navigation is Google, and you do have to log in. You can send stuff to it, but while you are moving, it only works with voice commands. There's no way to send it from your phone, or at least we have not been able to send it from our phone and like have a co-pilot type in an address. We're trying to go garage sales shopping and put in multiple addresses. It just was not easy on this built-in. Even adding more to the frustration, the voice function that it forced us to use while we were moving, we were asking to go to Fry Street, which was a couple blocks over, FRY. She kept pulling up FRYE and saying she could not find an address. And then she had the audacity to say, how well did I do on this voice activation? To which we had to give her the lowest score possible. So that's not great. We haven't loved that too much. I am also a big Waze user. Again, that has been hit or miss. I don't know if it's the Waze app. I don't know if it's the car, but trying to send addresses from my phone to the Waze app, not super easy. Trying to even log into the Waze app is super slow. You can see I get stuck on this screen a lot. While using Waze, it seemed to forget or not know where I was. I'll put some B-roll over of that. This has just been a big miss. Would have been made so much better by giving us CarPlay. In addition to that, while using Waze, if you want to hit this button right here to get your audio and your map, well, it only defaults to the Google map. I have not found a way to change what map is displayed here on the screen. Another big UI miss on this one. That can be updated with software. Apple CarPlay can be added with software later, but I don't know that they will ever do that because they really want your information. They want to be able to streamline the EV process. And that basically means, well, they want to be able to tell us how far it is and what my state of charge will be when I get there. I don't know that it's worth the trade-off at all. I don't like it. It is just absolutely horrible. It is a big quality of life downgrade from almost every other vehicle that I've been in. We don't even have Apple Music built into this. The Apple Music screen, if I want to use it, basically looks like this. So here are all my playlists, my radio, my podcast. I don't like it. It doesn't work. It is not good. And then this down here, these controls just blend into everything else. I don't want to harp on how bad this has been, but it's been really bad. I have not enjoyed it. It is not great. Fix it, Chevrolet, please, because a lot of the rest of this vehicle really is good. That aside, we do have quick access buttons for our cameras. Good 360 cameras, front and rear, from the side. You can see your wheels. Those are good. I like that. Other things I like, the charging screen. You can change where it charges to, how long it'll take will be displayed for you there. It'll show you your range. You can set to charge later. You can set up a schedule. You can change some different functions in here. Your home location. You can prep it for fast charging by preconditioning it, and you can change what that preconditioning temperature is. I like having all that at your fingertips. It is very nice. That works very well. Huge kudos there. It works even better than some Hyundai products we've been in, and I really do feel like Hyundai is the gold standard non-Tesla EV currently. That is my opinion from testing a lot of them. All right, moving away from the screen up here to the screen down here. Dual zone climate controls, which is nice. Heated and ventilated seats, which is nice. I like all that. We do get some redundant physical controls, but you also have some digital controls here. I like the redundancy of it. It works well enough. Down here, we get some very nicely styled AC vents with the ever so slightest LED backlighting, ambient lighting in them. When I saw that you do have ambient lighting in here and you can change a bunch of colors and change the brightness, I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. But it's just really around here that it glows. It really is not all that impactful of an experience being in here in the vehicle. Otherwise, coming to the steering wheel, typical GM steering wheel, I really like how thick rimmed it is. Gives you something nice to grab hold of. We do have Super Cruise. We'll talk about that while we're driving. All those controls over here. Get some controls over here for your music, your heated steering wheel. Your volume is back here. Your tuning is back here. And then we can page through several different screens here on this information screen back behind the steering wheel. So I do like that a lot. We are not done talking about screens because there is one more left in the vehicle. With how tiny that back window is, look how tiny it is, you are going to want to use this camera, which is mounted just above the license plate back there. It is a little disarming if somebody gets a little too close to you in traffic because it feels like they are right behind you. We do have 3 different controls here for the big, massive panoramic roof. So we do have a large roller shade. That center button controls that, rolls it all the way back, which I like. Then we have a massive panel right here, but it doesn't really open all that much. We'll go ahead, slide that open. Okay, perhaps I was wrong. It does open quite a bit. It was the Hyundai Ioniq 9 I was in while I had this that had just as large of a panel, but nowhere near as big of an opening. So that's actually a huge win. My apologies for getting those vehicles mixed up because that is a big panoramic roof. That is a nice wide opening, so I like that a lot. Coming down further, another lament I have of the Blazer EV, in lieu of giving us a pass-through here like we see in a lot of other EVs, we get a deep well here with storage that can be covered, but in proof that this was designed while work from home orders were going on, you know the timing of when they came up with this. Well, if you have anything plugged into these 2 USB-C ports, you're not closing this sliding door. It's just weird that they didn't angle that down more or reposition those. We do also get this rubberized shelf down here, though I don't know what you're putting down here. It's very far, very out of reach. It's not your wireless charger. That's actually back here. The wireless charger is horizontal. It hasn't worked that well for us. In fact, most of our phones, even though it's got a rubberized gripper here, most of our phones slide out of position and it just doesn't stay charging. We get some gloss black here, which we don't love, but a couple of cup holders with rubber grippers, which work rather nicely. A very long, skinny center console here, but there you can see we do have another USB-C port, but no cord channels here. So again, if you have a cord hanging out, you can be squishing that cord as you put the lid down. So again, they didn't really think of cord management throughout this interior, which is a bit odd. In addition to the nice styling in here though, that continues for the passenger. A little bit of suede here, a little bit of that Evotex here, more orange stitching, more of that plastic texture there. And the turbine style air vents are really cool. Some additional storage there, some additional storage in the door pull. And then we do have a damped but not felt lined glove box for a little bit more storage, but I am a little bit disappointed in the fact that you can't close that with a cord in place. That's just odd. Perhaps that'll get fixed in a mid-cycle refresh. Nice headroom here for me as a driver, though my seat is all the way down. These seats are comfortable enough, but again, I would like for some additional bolstering. Now let's check out the back seats because, well, with the wheels pushed out to the corners like I showed you, there's an impressive amount of space back there. Coming up to the back doors, if they are locked, again, I love how you can unlock them first, which I'm gonna have to do, and open the doors nice and wide to get into the back. They aren't fully 90 degrees, but because they are big enough doors, I was able to get Tucker's child safety seat in just fine. If you want to see footage of me installing Tucker's child safety seat, be sure and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you are notified when our family video drops. Here on this $64,000 family EV, we do not get built-in sunshades back here. It's a little bit of a miss for me, but I do like how we have a repeat of all the same colors, themes, and textures and materials back here. So we even get the suede back here. It is so easy for GM to go cheap back here on the back doors, and they didn't, and I appreciate that. As we look down here, we do get a little additional storage, and it goes in a little bit further back behind this panel right here. Taking a look at the seats, just like the door panels, we get these same materials. We get the denim, we get the suede on the headrest. It is very nice. We still get the orange seat belts back here. We get 3 across, which is very nice. Again, talking about child safety, we'll talk more about that when I install his child safety seat. But look how much legroom you get behind myself at 5'10", because this is an EV. It is just an embarrassment of space back here. I feel like I'm in a full-size pickup truck with just how much room I have back here. There really is a lot. I like the interior space on the Blazer. That is a strong selling point. In addition to the legroom, this is almost as wide as a full-size pickup truck, so we get a wide center seat here that I don't know if you could tell is actually a little bit lower than the seat I'm currently sitting in. I'll move over there in just a second, but I do want to talk about these googly eye air vents back here. Once you see the googly eyes, you can't unsee it. 2 more USB-C ports. Heated outboard seats, 3-mode heated outboard seats, which I like. No storage on the back of the driver's seat, but we do get some storage there. Okay, here is my headroom on the outboard seat, fully upright. But as I showed you when we were in the back, you can recline these seats. That gives me a little bit more space, but my ginger hair is still touching the headrest just a little bit, but you know, that's what happens when you've got this kind of hair. When you move over to the center seat, it is a little bit lower. So now my hair is not touching the headrest. And yes, I am a little close to Tucker's child safety seat, but I would say you could get 3 adults back here fairly comfortably. These seats do notoriously take up some extra room. But that is enough of a tour of this Blazer EV. What is this 615 horsepower electric beast really like when you are behind the wheel? Let's hop in and see. Okay, I'm doing my best to pepper some of my critiques throughout this video, but one that is made instantly obvious by this camera view is just how large the dash is on this. I grew up, the whole reason I love cars is a 4th generation Camaro F-body, and those were absolutely torn to shreds in the major magazines during the time for having a picnic table dashboard. And can you see it? Like, I could lay up there if I weren't so thick, but like there's so much room up there. It is a very, very large dashboard. Just a bit odd in the design of this. Like, again, we could have had more. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I just feel like that is a big dashboard for this vehicle. We still have lots of space back there. You all saw it. Still plenty of space inside, but I feel like there could be more. And I don't know if it's just because of how steeply raked the windshield is, but that's what we've got here. Another few things I do want to show you. The trip information is buried in this screen here. Once you get used to it, I suppose that's fine. You can see we have put almost all of the miles on this vehicle. No, that is total mileage, but 412 miles on this one. We're averaging 2.2 miles per kilowatt hour. On my 8 drive over here from previous filming location, 2.9. So it is a rather efficient vehicle with a sporty intention. So those 22-inch wheels don't eat into it too much. That's actually a surprisingly good number for stop and go city traffic. So no real complaints there. Just thought I'd pull it up while I was stationary. Another thing I want to pull up while I'm stationary are our different drive modes. We have normal, sport, snow and ice, my mode, Z mode, and then this button right here. This is wide open watts, or wow. Allows 0 to 60 times in the 3 to 3.4 second range. Again, instantaneous torque, dual motor, electric, all-wheel drive. It's kind of repeatable, and you're not going to draw a lot of attention to yourself while you do that. So I do like that. We'll test that here in a moment. And then this is one of the many ways to get to the one pedal drive screen. Hit that button. It's currently set to normal, but I can change how it is, and I even have this toggle to put it on my home screen, so I do have quick access for it right there. Again, bringing up Hyundai, which I feel like has got the EV thing kind of figured out a little bit better than Chevrolet here. They give you paddles on the back of the steering wheel on both sides of the steering wheel to adjust it in 4 different drive modes. You can even turn it on to automatic, full one pedal. Chevy doesn't do that. They give you one pedal, and that is for like you want to brake with just that. So you can leave it off and then brake with your hand, and it's just not great. And when it's on, it's a little bit too aggressive. I typically have one pedal drive on most EVs. I turn it off on General Motors. I just don't think they've perfected it, especially here in this Blazer. We'll show you in a little bit. One last thing, Z mode. With competitive mode, you can turn that on. That turns off your traction control. That is how you are going to get your fastest 0 to 60 times. That along with wide open watts. But you can see you can adjust your steering from normal to sport, brake feel normal to sport, acceleration feel regular, relaxed, normal, and sport, motor sound normal, sport, and off, competitive mode, which basically is traction control. Competitive mode on means traction control is off. Yeah, it's weird. But we will go ahead and put it in drive while in Z mode, and we will engage wide open watts because I just want to show you what this thing is capable of. You can see from the screen it doesn't change the suspension in any way, but it feels very much more firm in here. So as we pull out onto the straightaway here, come to a complete stop, it's going to tell me to activate wide open watts. I've already pressed the button. I stand on the brake pedal with my left foot, stand on the accelerator with my right foot. I get a 0 to 60 timer here in front of me, and here we go. Oh my gosh, this thing is so very quick. 3.1 second, 0 to 60. We're still pulling. This thing pulls hard. And there we are. 7.18 seconds to the next waypoint there, and I was already on the brakes before we did a quarter mile, but this says quarter mile in 11.7 seconds. Again, I was already on the brakes before we hit the quarter mile. So showing you what this vehicle is capable of. 3.1 seconds according to the built-in computers. If you want to test that for yourself, you can reach out to our racing sponsors here on the channel in RaceBox. You can get your very own GPS race timer for yourself. Discount code and links down in the video description below. All right, so now that I've done that, I'm going to put it back into normal mode, which is how we have been living with this one more often than not. I'm going to turn wide open watts off. We're just going to drive around the lake as I have driven this vehicle for the past week. With its extended wheelbase, it is a very smooth ride. With the added weight down below you, it is an added smooth ride. You don't get a lot of SUV body roll because, one, I don't feel like this is an SUV, and two, you have a very low center of gravity in this one. So two things working against SUV body roll in favor of the driving dynamics of this vehicle. Unfortunately for the SS badging all over this vehicle, she's a bit heavy. This weighs around about as much as a Chevy Tahoe. So there is something that is very SUV-like to go with the Blazer name on this one. Yes, she is a heavy beast. I will put the curb weight on the screen, but it's heavy, and it's like 800 to 900 pounds heavier than a Hyundai Ioniq 5, which we did test while we had this. We actually compared them head to head. So again, if you want to see that video, hit subscribe, ring the bell. All right, talking about how it drives. In normal mode, It rides well. It coasts over bumps. The added wheelbase helps add to the overall ride feel of this. It makes it feel like a bigger, heavier car than it really is, though it really is a heavy car in its own right. So that the batteries help with that. But what the batteries don't help with, I'm actually going to have to show you by coming to a complete stop, because coupled with the sport tune suspension in this, when you come to a stop, every time you come to a stop, you jiggle. You jiggle. Every time you come to a stop. There is no instance where I've been able to get this to come to a stop without the jiggle. It always jiggles. This again weighs 800 to 900 pounds more than a Hyundai Ioniq 5 that I drove literally back to back with this, and I could stop smooth, buttery every single time in that one. Trying to do the same here in this Blazer EV every single time, no matter what, without fail, I get the jiggle. It rocks back and forth. There's only so much you can do to fight physics, and the added weight of this with a sport tune suspension, you get a jiggle. So in stop and go traffic, it's a little bit of a nuisance. It kind of makes you feel like you can't drive because it jiggles every time. Just jiggles, rocks back and forth. And that is my biggest driving complaint with this. I like the power. Power is good. It keeps pulling. It doesn't have that EV like out of breath feeling when you get into higher speeds or if you've been accelerating for a while. The sport tune suspension does help us pilot this heavy beast around corners. And while those Continental tires are perhaps not my first choice for tire here in this one, I think that is more of a prerequisite given the overall weight of this vehicle. I would like something a little grippier than what we get here in these Continentals, but I'd say it does a good job of helping me point and shoot this thing around corners. It has been fairly fun to drive with the stop and go jiggle notwithstanding. Piloting it around corners here, again, that instantaneous torque, it's always available to me. And that does help push you out of corners very nicely. The all-wheel drive in this is weighted very well. More power to the rear than to the front in this one. And then we do have Brembo's 6-piston brakes up front. I showed you the SS branded brakes, which are actually kind of needed with all of that extra weight and the extra power of this one. You are going to find yourself going faster, easier in this, and with the added weight, you are going to want to know that you can stop when you want to or need to stop in a vehicle this heavy. Other things from driving it, visibility out of it, other than that tiny back window, is actually really good. We've got good blind zone monitoring in this. I talked about Super Cruise. So I took this to the Dallas airport and back, and Super Cruise most of the way, which was very nice. I do believe Super Cruise is the best hands-free driving system out there, but it was not perfect. I did run into a few stops on I-20 that I have driven with Super Cruise before, where it bailed on me and flashed red and said, hey, take control because we don't have road information. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Perhaps it was the car's connection to the internet, because unfortunately, Super Cruise is a subscription-based feature, as is the traffic sign recognition, the speed limit sign displayed on my head-up display and on the screen here in front of me is all subscription based. So you are going to have to pay a subscription fee for those up-level features, which include, yes, hands-free driving with Super Cruise. Very interesting to have it tap out on me on those couple of occasions. Not quite sure what was going on there. Otherwise, when it was working, it worked quite well. Unfortunately, and yes, I'm going to bring up Hyundai yet again, I feel like when you are not using Super Cruise, the hands-free lane keep, lane assist in this is a little on the weak side. It is very easy to drift over the line or overpower the corrective power of the steering wheel here when it's trying to keep you in its lane. You will get a little buzz from the GM safety seat if you're crossing over the line, but yes, I feel like the motors in the wheel here to kind of fight back against crossing over lanes in traffic is just a little on the weak side. And if left to its own devices, it's going to ping pong you back and forth. It's not going to keep you straight and center in the lane. And so I feel like Super Cruise is great, and without it on, it's a little weak. There's no in between. Hyundai's got a good in between with the simple push of a button on the steering wheel. Again, something I think the leaders in EV tech really have up and over this Blazer EV. All right, I've got to do it one more time and do the wide open watts. Come to a complete stop, step on the brake, and ready, set, here we go! Off we go. That one was a little slow. I don't think wide open watts was truly engaged on that one because we got a 3.5 second 0 to 60 on that run. So I'm gonna have to do it one more time. It's just intoxicating. I want more. All right, come to a complete stop. Competitive mode, Z mode, everything on. Let's set, go. Oh my gosh, and we are off. This thing just pulls and pulls and pulls and pulls until it is not done pulling. Oh my goodness gracious. This thing is so quick and powerful. That was a 3.1 second 0 to 60. And yes, very exhilarating to say the least. The power in this is not the problem. It really is the weight and the suspension. So leave that where you will in the overall review of this one. So at $64,000, would I recommend this one? Well, as I mentioned, I did compare this against a Ioniq 5 Limited, which topped out just under $60,000. And I feel like that one was a better one to live with. You're making some sacrifices here for the Super Sport, and you pay for that with a little additional price. Though I love the interior personality of this one. I even really like the exterior personality of this one a lot. SS really is the trim I would get. And you can pull a few things off of this to get it closer to that $60-ish thousand starting point of the SS model to really get it in line with that Ioniq 5 Limited. The problem is Ioniq 5 also comes in an N model with more power than this and more cornering ability, more overall trackability than this one. I only got to drive one of those for a short stint. I am still waiting for a longer term loan of the Ioniq 5N, but at $66,000, I think that one is the better bet. But if you are a GM loyalist, as I am, if you say have an old Bel Air or Nomad in the garage and want something to daily drive that is comfortable, that has modern technology and comfortable amenities, this Blazer EV SS may be for you. There are absolutely trade-offs between this and a lot of the other competition. Yes, this is not the best vehicle in the price in the segment by my estimations, but there is a lot here to like. I haven't even talked about how absolutely quiet this thing is to drive. It is so quiet, in fact, that the fact that the rear license plate was not tightened on completely when this was delivered to me, and the fact I could hear it rattling in the wind kind of shocked me. It is so quiet, I could hear the faintness of a license plate rattling in the wind back behind me. So it is a calm, comfortable, compliant car with lots of range and the ability to DC fast charge practically anywhere. So there is a lot to like. If you want to see more from us here with this vehicle, including Holly's take on it, be sure and hit the subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you are notified when future videos drop from us. Find us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, you name it. Everything is at GT Garage Talk, or you can go to gtgaragetalk.com. As for me, in the 2025 Chevy Blazer EV SS, 4 years after first getting to see it with my own eyes, until next time, gearheads, bye.